Now, in our profile this morning, we're reviewing a book by Nyaradzo Chahuruva, who is a certified financial education instructor who took the time to write a beautiful book here. He says, "How can my money be enough?" Now, this is like a guide to that gives you practical ways to stop payday to payday living. So we need to welcome her and ask her more on this book. Nyaradzo, hi.
Hi, Natasha. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So thank you so much for joining us this morning and for taking your time actually to be here with us.
Thank you.
Good. So now, first of all, I want to ask this book, How Can My Money Be Enough? Who is it for? Who is it directed to?
Yeah, so How Can My Money Be Enough is actually a story about myself to start with. So if I tell you who I am, then it is also a book for people like me. So I am a certified public accountant by profession, and you would assume that an accountant knows all there is about money, how to handle their monies. But at some point in my life, having gone up the ladder in my career, I was struggling with my own finances. I was caught up in a debt cycle. I would have to borrow money from the bank. I would have to borrow money from my employer. I had actually exhausted all my borrowing options. And at that point, it felt like I was not going to get out of that. So as a working professional, I would relate with others in the same boat, that there are other people who are working every month, they are earning a salary. And sometimes they even get a raise, you get a raise at the end of the month, at the end of a year, you get promoted, you get more money, but the cycle repeats itself, that of payday to payday living, meaning by the time you are midway the month, you're already borrowing some more money. By the way you get to the 15th, say you earn your money on the 25th, by the time you get to the 10th, it's all finished, and you can't wait for the next payday. So in a nutshell, I can say that is who that book is for.
I feel like this sounds like quite a number of people and some people that I know. But then, So now, as I was going through the book, right, I saw that there's a quote from Galatians 5 verse 1, and I was wondering, how is this related to money matters? Because this is a book about money matters.
Indeed, it's a book about money. I'm a Christian, my background, and so when I write, some of the principles that I take there are from the Bible. And so when you look at Galatians 5 verse 1, that scripture says, "It is for freedom that Christ has set us free. Stand firm then, and do not let yourselves be burdened again by the yoke of slavery." And when I take that, the slavery is a financial slave. So to say, when you are struggling with your finances, when you are heavily in debt, you are more like a slave. So when you have been set free, that is to say, do not let yourselves be burdened again by the same burden. So that is what that scripture really says. But yeah, you are right when you say there is a lot of biblical reference in the book.
Right.
Yes.
And then again, we also actually, through reading briefly in this book, I would say for myself, it raised the question, actually somebody asked rather before we got here, and they say that, wait, how are emotions and money management related?
Yeah, it's so amazing actually, because most of the decisions that we make about money are not rational. If you think about it, we know that we need to save, but why do we not save? Because at some point you get money and you get so excited. When you're excited, you probably want to spend more, because you are in that jolly mode, or maybe you are so stressed. Like for me, I would take that as therapy. When I was so stressed, I would go out there and shop, and those are some of the moments I would get myself in debt. I would go and buy a lot of stuff. There was Mikkels at some point, I don't know if you know, and I even had a credit card, so I would buy on credit. If I'm stressed, I would just go. I could have lunch. So money issues are not really rational. You can't tell a person that, no, don't spend your $100. It is really an emotional decision that a person has to make, that when I'm excited, I spend more. When I'm excited, I want to please people, and by the end of the day, the money is finished, and we are asking ourselves, where did my money go? Things like that.
Right.
So yes, they are more emotional than rational.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Guess I would need to read more into it. And then now I gotta ask, what are some of the practical ways that an average person like me
Yeah.
might need to employ or to take to try and not live a payday to payday lifestyle?
Right. So, Natasha, when we talk of managing money, you start with the little that you have.
Right.
We can talk of someone who's earning $100. The same principles will apply. So if you cannot manage the $100, you will definitely not be able to manage 1,000. You will not be able to manage 1,000,000. So we start right at the root, at the basic foundation. So there's a lot to it, but I just want to start off with budgeting. So when a person has money, no matter how little it is, you need to give your money direction. And someone says it's to give your money a job description. And how do you give your money a job description? You tell it what you want it to do. So if you have $100, put it down, write it down, pen and paper, write it down. This is what I want my money to do. Because if you do not do that, that's when Tom, Dick, and Harry will come and ask for $5 you've given. You're told, come, let's have fun at KFC. You go, you even take a taxi, you go, and before you know it, the money is finished. So we start there with the basics of budgeting. And one thing you will see when you read the book is to try and allocate your money. So regardless of how much it is, there is the 50-30-20 rule, which is basically to say of the money that you have, at least 50% will go towards your needs, the 30% will go towards your wants, and then 20% will be your savings. When we talk of needs, we are saying these are things that you cannot do without. We are talking of your food.
Right.
We are talking of maybe groceries, yes. We're talking of medical fees, things like that, that you have to have for you to survive. The essentials. You remember in COVID times, there were essential services.
Yes.
So the essentials, these are the things that you need.
Okay.
Then we have the wants. The wants, these are things it would be nice to have, but really you won't die if you don't have them. Things like your DSTV, it's good to have DSTV. It's good to go out and watch a movie once in a while, but you cannot die you won't die if you don't watch. So those are wants. So you do allocate money there, because if you don't, you feel deprived, and that's how you end up also overspending. Then when we talk of the 20%, now these are for your charitable givings. To those who go to church, you probably your what you give to church, your offerings, and then your savings as well, because you need to set aside something every time. So I'm talking of $100, and if you can apply the same principle on 1,000 or on 10,000, you can imagine how much you can achieve by the end of the year.
So this 50-30-20 principle, this is a practical principle we're talking about.
Yeah, you know how it is with studies. People do study and see that this actually works. So, but of course, different principles work for different people. In the book, you'll see I even made a little twist. So instead of the 30 going towards wants, we've said let the 30% go towards your savings and your, because if you are in debt, you would rather reduce the amount you are putting towards wants and have it to pay your debts. So you then have 30% contributing also to debt repayment, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's quite clear right there. And then, so let me ask, now how does a person manage money in their relationships? And we're not talking about me and my significant other, but like in all my other relationships, how does a person manage money, or how do I manage my money?
Yeah, when we talk of money in relationships, because you're right, we do have a lot of relationships, and especially in Africa, I think there's also a quote in the book where I say it takes a village to raise a child, and so that same village would need some compensation as you grow up, you know. So you have your aunties, you have your uncles, all these people will kind of need something, and it's termed black tax in a way. So these are some of the monies. How do you handle that in relationships? It's good because the book does detail the different relationships: money with your children, money with your better half, money with, you know, different kind of relationships. So depending on what relationship it is, you need to learn how to manage your money. It's very common that when people know, especially in our culture, if people know that I think there's money, Natasha has some money, you'll find them always coming in. And we've heard a lot of people in the diaspora who've been sending money to their relatives, only to find that the money they have been sending has been used to build their own empires, and now you come back, you have nothing to show for whatever you've been doing in the diaspora, you see. So we need to manage relationships, and it's clearly outlined in the book.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, okay. And then, so can you define what you mean by, what is spending money better? What is defined by that?
By spending it better?
Yes.
I would say it's just in a smart way, let me say so. Because yes, money is supposed to be spent. That's why we get it in the first place. But when we talk of spending money better, we are saying give it a job description, as I said in the beginning. Tell your money where it should go. Define your needs. Define your wants. Because if those two are not clearly defined, you will find that at any point you are just paying out money. I'll give an example. When you set aside savings, say you are putting aside money for emergencies. You're saying, this is money I'm setting aside just in case my car breaks down. I'll need to fix it without having to break the bank, without having to start borrowing, you know, going to the loan sharks. So when we say now spend better, we are saying when you're accessing, let's say, your savings, are you spending them according to your original plan? Or now, because of those relationships we're talking, auntie so and so comes in and say, I really need money, my child has been sent out of school, are you going to take that money? So be smart in the decisions that you make as you spend your money. That's what I can say is spending better.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now that, so let's say somebody has read this book and they're probably clear on some of these measures, right? And somebody asks, now that I've managed to give my money a job description, how then do I maintain it? What's next? Do we have another guide? Do we have the maintenance now?
Great. So I like that, because after I wrote this book, that question was asked a lot of times, and it made me write the second book, this one, which is called the Wealth Builders Toolkit. It's for the first time investor, because once you come out of the payday to payday cycle, it means now you can afford to save. Now you've been putting aside some money, and you're asking yourself, what then? What's the next thing? And so this book will then guide us in terms of investments, because you will not be wealthy by just saving. You need to invest. Investing, the good thing about it is that it will increase or multiply your money. That is why we have things like the stock market, we have real estate investing, because the money you put in is not exactly the money you will take out. I'll give you an example. If you put $100 under the pillow, tomorrow it will still be $100.
Right.
Next year, it will still be $100. But the bad thing is that $100 may not be buying the same thing that it was buying a year ago. It would have been hit by inflation. So maybe $100 today can buy, what can $100 buy? Maybe 2 pairs of shoes, let's say. If you keep it under the pillow, next year, it will not be able to buy the same 2 pairs of shoes. Maybe it will only be buying 1 pair of shoes. Okay. So if you want your money to multiply, what do? So say you put it on the stock market, or you put it on the real estate, or whatever other investment vehicles, they are discussed in detail in the book. What it means is you get probably a 7% per annum interest. So instead of $100, you have 107. And if you keep it, the following year it multiplies. And that's the beauty of compounding interest. Even Albert Einstein is said to have said that's the eighth wonder of the world, compound interesting, because it multiplies. And that is how a lot of wealthy people have made their money.
Okay, that is so great. So can I invest if I have, for someone who doesn't have like lots of money, do you then, are you able to also invest? Maybe let's say you have $100 and that's probably all you're getting, and you want to invest, you want it to multiply. Is it possible?
Sure, it is possible. It is possible, and I must also be quick to point out that there are scammers out there who are taking advantage of that people want to invest their little money, and they will be offering some of these products that you may not even understand how they work. So I'll be quick to say, if someone is saying your money is going to multiply and you do not understand how that works, just stop. Do what you know and understand. So you can put your money on the money market. I wouldn't want to then start talking of different service providers, but there are companies, even locally, where you can put your money, you can get, you can buy little shares even, you can buy something, you can invest in agriculture, you can, and that's one thing we have, an advantage we have in our land, that agriculture, you know, it booms so much. So you can invest in agriculture. What you put in is not what you get out. Of course, there are risks, and so because of the risks, that is why we have to protect our money. When you talk protect our money, we are talking of insuring our assets. So there is a lot that $100 can do. Again, the book is here. I don't want to, you know, say so much because I have very little time, but yes, there is a lot that $100 can do.
Well, thank you so much for coming through. That was really great. I think I actually do recommend that a lot of people should read this book, including myself, because I haven't really read it. But then I also understand that you have an upcoming event very soon.
Sure. On Saturday, the 25th of March, I'm going to have a money talk. And this money talk is bringing together specialists in personal finances who will come and address us. We have the likes of Gloria Jaranu from Old Mutual. She's going to be there addressing us. We're going to have Lloyd Gumbo from IPAC. He's going to come in and talk about retirement planning. We do have Nyaradzo. She will be talking about sustainability in finance, basically. And we also have Jason Deshe from Stanbic Bank on credit management, because sometimes we borrow out of ignorance, and you know, it's always painful to pay back. But we have this discussion that will be going on. So yes, on Saturday, 25 March at number 146, that's Seba World, Business World, along Enterprise Road. That's where we will be.
And who's if I may ask, who's invited to this workshop?
So anyone is invited, especially those who are working, because the idea is you are earning money. We want to make sure that when you start working, you already also start planning your retirement. Because one thing for sure, the government is not going to come and assist. We've heard of people that have lost their pensions, you know. Our economy, we cannot guarantee anything. And so we need to learn as we are starting to work, or as we are working, what is it that I can do to protect my hard-earned money. So I'm inviting all those people who are working currently, who are earning a salary, to come in and learn. You know, financial education, very important, but people realize it too late that this is something that we never learned at school.
Thank you so much for coming through, Nyaradzo. This has been a great talk. And like I said, I'll definitely read this book and move to the next one too after I'm done. Yeah. But thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you so much for having me.
It was great. Now, that was Nyaradzo, who was giving an insight on her book, How Can My Money Be Enough? And be sure to get yourself a copy. You need some financial advice for yourself too. Stay tuned.